it was a little bit more Lokmeh than Loki this week. But let's take a look anyway. I'm Al, this is the Geek in Review, let's get to it. So yeah, after a pretty heavy drop at the end of episode 2, episode 3 did feel a little bit flat. I know everyone's been saying that on the internet and I do agree myself. And I don't understand why, if you only got 6 or 8 episodes, why waste one? There are a lot of theories online that there's a lot more going on in this episode than at first glance. And I'm not going to go into that too much at the moment, but honestly I don't think that's true. What we did get in this episode is a bit more understanding of Loki or Lokis. If you remember a few episodes back when he was talking about his powers and explaining the difference, she does the same with hers. She does seem to have a different sort of magic, or has picked up a different sort of magic than our Loki. She explains that she's learned a different way as well. It's a great scene when they're on the train together, and it probably is one of the only few great scenes in this episode where they're sitting at a bar at a train and they're just sort of talking back and forth about their differences in their history and their past. I said I wasn't going to talk about theories, but I'm going to talk about a quick one here. If you look at the position that Tom Hiddleston and the female Loki are sitting in, it's exactly the same position that the guard and the female Loki are sitting in at the bar in the illusion at the start. So there is one theory that everything from the bit where she touched them on the planet to try and enchant them is an illusion, and then the enchantment did work. It's also backed up by the fact that when she explains later on how the enchantment works is she can take over weak people's minds, but people that are stronger are in the illusion with her. So this is the sort of situation that she's explaining that she's in with Loki. But I'll be honest, I think that is a kind of a false setup. I don't think we're going to get any real payoff from that theory or this episode. And I was on the Starfleet Boy After Dark podcast last night, and I was saying one of the main issues I had with it is it felt cheap. It felt like an early Star Trek The Next Generation episode where they beam down to the alien planet and it's all these boxy sets and weird colourful uniforms. Or it felt a bit like, you know, a sort of middling Doctor Who episode. Even from the current run, if you go back and look at the first 2 seasons, the budget certainly wasn't there. And it just felt like that. It's like, this is Marvel, it should be a bit more. This is an alien planet and all the aliens looked like humans, and the only difference was the sky was a different colour. I don't know. I know they were maybe trying to go for that Guardians of the Galaxy feel, because there's a few Easter eggs to that in it, but it didn't feel a recognisable part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the Marvel TV shows that we've seen so far. It just felt like a throwaway thing, which I guess it was, and that's fine. One thing that the female Loki, or Sylvie, did say, because she does reveal herself to be Sylvie, and she is kind of the Enchantress as well. They've done the Marvel thing that I thought they would. I did mention it in my last video, if you want to go and check it out, that they've kind of merged, seem to be 2 characters or 2 backstories together. She does say that she's been on the run from the TVA her entire life, so that raises a few questions for me of when did this start, how old was she, and what happened to cause this. I don't know how we're going to get all the backstory on that, because it seems to be the general theory that she's some sort of ex-TVA agent as well. She does drop the bombshell that the TVA do seem to be real people that have been plucked out of time and are variants. We know at least that guard from the last episode and the start of this one was from Earth. She did seem to be from the timeline, I would guess, it was hard to tell, but anywhere between the 90s and just now. There's no real technology or fashion, or they didn't make any references to anything. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. Where did everyone else come from? Because the comic book version is sort of saying that it was the Timekeepers that created everyone. So yeah, they seem to be setting up the Timekeepers to be the big bad, and that's not unexpected. But as long as this all pays off, I won't mind in the long run. We're obviously going to have to wait to the end of the season. So far in these Marvel Disney shows, there hasn't really been a filler episode. I did think some of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff was a bit slow at times, but when you watch it back on a binge watch, it works pretty well. In fact, it's pretty solid. My only main criticism, or my main heavy criticism of this episode, is there's no real banter between the Lokis, and I don't think that that's potentially the writer's fault or the director's fault or the actor's fault. I think it's the fact that Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth, you can tell they get on really well, even in the first Thor film, up until Ragnarok and Infinity War. These guys really like working with each other and their friends, and it shows when they're having the back and forth. Doesn't matter if it's comedic or serious, or they're having a dig at each other. And with this Loki, that's what I expected. If you meet another version of yourself, surely the conversation would flow a lot more differently. That's what I thought. But again, this episode was just Lokmeh. But I don't know. And I don't know if it's me, because I've not been feeling too well this week. If you've seen me on Starfleet Boy After Dark, or you follow me on Twitter, and you can do that at The Geeks Reviews, I've had a bit of a cold all week, so I do apologise for my voice. But let me know what you think of this episode, and what you think is going to happen next in the comments below, or on Twitter. Thanks for watching. My name's Al.